I look a little silly, don't I? Well, if you're going to use the Nvidia 3D functions, you're going to need to use these glasses, 3D vision. They're actually not too uncomfortable. It tends to be a little distracting whenever the effect turns on. Everything sort of darkens. But you get this, the 27-inch monitor and a Nvidia graphics card, and you've got 3D functioning games like Arkham City and Skyrim, which are ones that I've actually tried. Now, we had a 560 Ti card, which is not one of the higher end ones. Not that that ever stopped any game reviewer from pushing far beyond that. So we just pushed up everything to the top so we could try out the PhysX effects, which are the new physics effects for Arkham City, and the 3D. Now for the 3D in Arkham City, it looked like a rather good effect. Gave a great amount of depth to the city. Buildings looked like they were substance, looked like they had a Z-axis to them. Things loom out at you. Batman's cape flits in front of your face. It's a very good effect. Now, it doesn't really seem to matter too much in combat, though. When you're in the combat, you're just flying around, punching people, and I don't really notice that they're sticking out at me on the screen. It doesn't really seem to affect how I fight. It doesn't really seem to affect me gliding around the city. It looks nice. It's a definitely noticeable effect when you're just gliding around, but not really in combat or when you're doing anything really engaged. I thought it didn't really hurt my eyes. I did not have a problem at all watching it or wearing it. The only time I ever had a problem was if I looked up from the screen because the glasses would flip on and off. But you just have to keep mindful of that. As for the PhysX, I would have to say that I thought it was a good effect. You had, first off, the cloth effects. Paper will billow around you, actually interact with you as you move. You kick and it will fly up around you in a swirl, hang in the air, it'll catch on objects. Looks really good in the courthouse, looks really good in a few other areas where it shows up. The paper just looks fantastic. Now, it doesn't work so well for carpeting, though. In the first Catwoman area, she's walking across a rug to get to the safe. It looks like she's walking on water. Now, that's a cool effect, but it's not at all what they probably intended for a carpet to do. The breakable glass works really well, except for that it seems to hang at right angles in the air at points. The cape physics look great. Batman's cape actually looks like a cape. It has much more articulation than the clothy board that we generally get with most engines. There's some subtle stuff like Bruce Wayne's jacket and tie, the Penguin's jacket act like cloth. And they're real subtle effects, but they're really nice to look at. Other effects that are not as problematic would be things like the sparks that come out of the smelters. I thought they looked fantastic. Just walking through a rain of sparks looks amazing. And walking through smoke is even more great because the smoke actually looks like smoke. It thickens and thins as it billows around. It looks like actual smoke rather than that foggy haze that shows up in a lot of games. Good use of PhysX. If you have the money for the card, that's worth it for Batman. And it really looks amazing, and it just is a very good effect to have added to the game. I also tried out the 3D in Skyrim. They don't have PhysX as far as I know in Skyrim, which means you still have to worry about launching corpses through the air whenever you throw a fireball at them. Rather enjoyable. But the 3D itself seems pretty good. Helgen looked good. The towers had substance to them. You see the dragon flying around, and the 3D isn't too disconcerting until you need to look at the HUD. When you have to look at your health or the text on the screen, it splits in two because it's a 2D image resting on the 3D. And it really just becomes a problem when you're trying to aim particularly. I didn't have any problem when I was in melee combat because aiming isn't too big of a deal. You just swing your sword. When it came to using a bow, I found that it took a long time for me to adapt to trying to fire this thing. Like, I could not hit that first bear. That bear was just the Matrix there. I'm firing arrows on either side of it. It was embarrassing. Closing one eye doesn't help because the way the 3D effect works, you're just going to lose all perspective. That's kind of a problem because if you're going to play as a bow guy, you have to really teach yourself how to not look at things. It also kind of hurts the eyes to move between 2D. With Arkham City, the same thing was there, but it wasn't as big of a deal because the text doesn't pop up nearly as often as in Skyrim. So I really didn't see too much of a problem with it. As for 3D in general, I would say if you're really into 3D, you're gonna want to find a way to access this, but I personally don't really see how it would affect gameplay. I mean, the gameplay is already 3D. You're just viewing it on a 2D image screen. All the 3D does is create an optical illusion that makes your 3D look more like 3D. So really, I don't think it changes much about how you play the game. You can't actually look around things. You can probably guess distances and depth from the 3D effect within the game. But if you really like 3D and you really want it, it's fine, and it works out pretty well. I would say, go for it. Enjoy your looming buildings, and you'll get some really cool cloth and spark effects in the process. This is Alex Leach. Thank you very much.